Nike shoes, the great trainers robbery. Well, welcome to Mark and Pete Live. I'm Pete the clergyman. With me, as ever, is Mark the businessman. So, what's this all about, Mark? It seems very strange.
Well, it is. And I must admit that this is rather a weird story. Around 4,000 pairs of Nike training shoes, worth approximately £400,000, have been stolen from a lorry at a service station in South Lanarkshire. And what's quite remarkable with this audacious attempt to buy some goods and actually steal them from this situation, the footwear was actually taken from a parked vehicle at the Abington Services interchange. Now, this was on the M74 in the United Kingdom, folks. So, what is quite extraordinary is the police have not tracked them down. Well, I must admit that this audacious attempt does leave some rather big questions as to why anyone would even do this. Well, is there a business angle? Yes, I think there is. And why is that? Well, Clergyman Pete, we know a song about this, don't we?
Oh, yes, we
Yes,
do.
the Great Trainers Robbery. It is, without any doubt, the
Yes.
runaway trainers.
Shoo, shoo!
Oh, the runaway trainers came down the track and they flew. The runaway trainers came down the track and they flew. The runaway trainers came down the track. Someone stole the souls and could not give back. And they were green, white, red, and blue. Shoo, shoo! Clergyman Pete, I
That's going to
ask
be a
you.
number one.
It certainly will. What a song. But more importantly, why is it that there's a lot of empty shoeboxes in your church?
Now, I only hope that you wouldn't mention that, particularly because I had nothing to do with this robbery. And anyway, they're not my size. Because I mean,
I've heard you know.
but probably. Yeah. Yeah. So it's interesting that this is not quite on the same scale or importance, maybe, as the Great Train robbery, but it is interesting that they're so valuable, aren't they? These
Yes.
shoes, they're expensive shoes, hence they're hence it's worth so much that it's worth stealing them, I guess.
Yeah. Well, what is extraordinary is from a business perspective, everybody knows that training shoes, if you have the right brand, folks, can not only enhance your fashion status, but also be a good investment. What's remarkable as well is that people do actually actually save them. Some people won't just have one pair, they could have dozens and maybe even more. There are people throughout many countries, throughout certainly
Yeah,
the Western communities, who
sure.
seem to trade them. They actually hoard them. It's almost like it's what a collection, a hobby.
Yeah, yeah.
And when you think about Nike shoes and many other well-known brands in this particular market space, they do become valuable. So we're talking about new shoes, but what's extraordinary as well is that there are a lot of people who trade them online. So one of the reasons why I think the police are rather keen to track them down, folks, is that there is obviously a huge hoard of valuable goods. So we did give a reference to the 1960s gold bullion great train robbery,
Yes, yeah.
and clearly gold was of value. But of course, what is extraordinary as well is why is it now that we seem to be placing so much onus on something that is just something on the end of your foot? I
Yes,
mean,
just
really, I mean, it's just at
yeah,
the end of the day
hobby
there
shoes.
to sort of help you run or walk. I mean,
Yeah,
surely it could be.
yeah.
Surely people could steal something better, shouldn't they?
I mean, it's interesting, isn't it? Yes, so the fashion element of it is important, although the technology is very interesting, and they are lightweight and yet absorbent and able to protect your sole and your the arch of your foot, etc., as you run. So some interesting technology in there, but it's mainly due to them being fashionable, them being iconic pieces of fashion wear that make them so valuable. And if you think about it, back in the day when the current suit, like a business suit or a lounge suit that people wear, when that was developed over the years back, the start of the 20th century, you had people wearing suits. Well, before
Mm.
that, a suit with a shorter jacket wasn't the sort of thing that you'd wear into the office and that sort of thing. It was the sort of thing you'd wear because you needed to wear a shorter jacket because you were out riding. and so what was worn in the competition, sporting wear, became the fashionable wear for the man about town. And I would say it's similar. It's in the same way that the shoes, running shoes, have now become urban wear, something that you wear around the city, around town.
Yes.
And because they have that fashion status, they gain value. But also, the particular brands, because they're expensive, then become more fashionable, so they become more expensive, so they become more fashionable, etc., etc. It is linked, however, in this case, to the latest technology. When Nike brought in soles that were filled with air, like a bubble under your feet. When that happened, they became suddenly more. Those particular models became more valuable.
Yeah.
But
Well,
whatever.
certainly the robbers have been light-footed.
Yeah, yeah, and perhaps they should have put some on to try and run away a bit faster.
They probably have.
Yes. Well, they've not come back, have they? So
No.
yeah. So So I think that I'm going to get away with it. I mean, I think that they're going to get away with it.
I have an observation, and I don't think the police realised what they had said in their call to the public. Now, what I was very amused by was Detective Constable Heather Anderson urged anyone who saw anything suspicious to contact officers. And she added, no matter how insignificant it may have seemed at the time, it could be vital to our investigation. She goes on and says, in particular, I would ask motorists with dash cams who were in the area at the time to check their footage.
Yes, dash cams footage. Yes, going for the 100-yard.
So I don't know whether this was set up purely as a joke, or whether, dare I say, Heather hasn't quite realised the humour.
Yes, well, we'll look at it for those footage and all the feet that are now wearing stolen shoes. This is an interesting topic, in that the main thing that I take away from this is that something that seems not very valuable becomes expensive and worth stealing just for subjective reasons. Well, actually, that's not fair. Not just for subjective reasons, but the hugely inflated price that's associated with them is because of fashion, for something as subjective as that. So
yes. So what I think we should ask is have they seen a group of centipedes out there?
Let us know. Let us know in the comments if you've seen a group of centipedes wearing shoes, or if you see someone you think, hey, they didn't have Nike shoes before. How did they get them? But do not approach them. They could be dangerous. They could run into you for starters.
They will be definitely hot-footing on their way.
Yeah. Well, that's all from us for this week, and more Market Beat next week. And remember to leave a comment and subscribe. It really does help the channel. But got to go now. We've got to run.